great, big, beautiful world out there. And here I sit, sucking on popsicles.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Imbasciani Chronicles. I'm your host, Mike Imbasciani. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot and helps get it up in the algorithms, what it's all about. Now, I don't do these episodes very often. I always wait till I have a great guest, and we do have a great guest with us today. You've seen her on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno on Comedy Central, and she also won in 1998 the Best Female Stand-Up Comic. We're going to start with this little video, but we have Maryellen Hooper with us.
Hooper, come on, Maryellen. Give him some of that love, baby.
The only thing I'm pulling out of there is hopes and dreams. I'm so glad to be here, you guys, because we just bought this house. Oh, I've been watching the HGTV. Do you girls watch HGTV? No. My husband started watching it, so now we bought a fixer-upper. Well, he calls it a fixer-upper. I call it the end of our marriage. So now every weekend we have to go to Home Depot. That must be what it feels like for a guy to be in the mall. We've been here all day. It's an entire aisle of nails. Get a sharp one, let's go! Oh, up and down the tool aisle. I just want to throw myself on a weed whacker. I don't know. So now we got we got this fixer-upper house. And the whole thing, I think he bought it so he can buy tools. You girls know. I know. He has, oh my, he bought a $500 air compressor. Do you know what that is? It's this tall and this big around. It just stands in the driveway. It calls all the other husbands out of their houses. Like a suburban bat signal. Oh, I got to go. I don't even know what it is. I walk up to it, it goes, psh. Like, why do we need that? He goes, it blows out air real fast. So does your butt. Use that. It's easy to turn on, just pull your finger. Cheaper than a compressor. 99-cent chalupa would take care of the whole job. I don't even know what it's for. And he had a sales pitch. Oh, you can fill up tires on the car. That's free at the gas station. Oh, that was like a quarter. Oh. I'm like, okay, I'm not good at math, but how many tires you got to fill up to break even, Sparky? He bought a nail gun. Do you girls know? And a holster, that's the part that scares me. He bought a nail gun because I asked him to hang a picture. Oh, a nail gun's much faster than a hammer. I'm like, how busy are you? Your day's so booked up you don't have time to hit a nail? No, busy guy. Oh, yeah. That picture ain't going nowhere. It's awesome, honey. It's on the wrong wall, but whatever. He has so many tools, he doesn't even know what he has. He'll buy like 4 hammers because he can't find them because the garage is so messed up. I'm like, clean up the garage. Are you elbowing? So you know what my husband did to clean up the garage? He hung up a pegboard in the garage, and then he hung up his little tools, and then he drew a line around them like they're dead. In case they run away, we have a description. That's how I know where everything goes. I'm like, hey, that actually makes sense. Maybe I should draw an outline of your underwear in the hamper. Now go in the bathroom and draw a line around the toilet. It's all about the tools, right, girl? You know, I should just let him have his little tools and play with his little tools, but he wants me involved in the fixer-upper. He goes, honey, I'm going to teach you how to rewire the outlet. Who's going to teach you? Maybe you should get the Property Brothers to come over here. They don't even have to do anything. They could just sit next to me. No, he's going to teach me how to, and the thing is that every time we start a project, he's like, okay, here's the plan. That means I'm going to the hospital. I'm like, hang on, we're going to be touching wires? Hello, 911? No, not yet. You take reservations? And he talks to me like I'm an idiot. Every time we start a project, he goes, honey, before you touch wires, you have to make the lights go out. Oh, God. That's my job. I'm staring at a light bulb like a moth. Because he has the important job. He's got to go out to the box and look for the switch. You girls know what the box is? Now, I'm not allowed to touch the box. Probably because I would label it. Well, if I did that, that would just ruin our fun little game of, is it off yet?
And here she is, Maryellen Hooper.
With way more makeup.
It's great. How are you? Thank you for coming on.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be here in the cave.
Yes.
I'm actually calling from Budapest. So
I know, right?
Can you hear me?
Oh, it's coming in nice and clear.
I feel like that first joke was out of context because I was responding to the person who was on before me.
Oh, really?
Yes. So she was a very large woman. And she talked about, she's African American, talking about going to church and it being so long that she had to bring food. And she actually had McDonald's in her bra. And
French
she was
fries,
pulling out the French fries and
nice.
all this stuff. And so that's why I came out and went, I'm not pulling anything out of there.
Oh.
Except for hopes and dreams. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
there you go.
yeah, but thanks for having me. You're so sweet.
Of course. And yeah, I played the whole clip because as a musician, I mean, you can cut down certain songs, but as I interview more and more comedians, especially on this show, and I play their bits, it's like, I never want to cut off a joke, you know, cut off a bit like, oh no, it's supposed to, this part goes to this part and all of that. And you talked about when you were on with me and Ken Lovejoy on the radio, that it's hard to do something like America's Got Talent because you only have a certain amount of time to do it, and your style is more those storytelling, which is great. How did you find that niche of storytelling?
Well, you know, it's funny, I'm from New York, and I don't know if it's only New York, but the Northeast especially. Growing up, our families would, my parents would have family members or friends over, and they would just sit around the table telling stories, you know, and the funnier the better, and everybody one-ups each other. And so I kind of learned that and how to tell stories from that, you know, just trying to be funny. And I would sneak in and sit under the table and hear things that I have to go to therapy for now.
Yeah, right. Well, at least you weren't tied under the table. My old Italian from New York, good friend of mine, may he rest in peace, he said his mother tied him under the table once, and his dad came home and said, why is he tied under the table? And the mother goes, because he wouldn't listen. He said, I don't even remember what I did wrong.
Of course, but you remember being tied up.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So what got you into comedy in the first place? You had those stories from family. I assume it come from a big family?
Not too big, actually. Just me and my brother and, you know, a couple cousins and stuff. But no, not a very big family. But That's why we had to entertain ourselves.
Yeah.
But basically,
Only child, I understand that.
Oh, yes. I wanted to be on stage. Like, that was I'm Gen X, so we didn't get a lot of attention.
Right.
So the only time I would get attention is when I was performing. Like, my mom and dad would have their friends come over and say, Maryellen, do the robot. Because I knew how to do the robot. And or do this or do that, do your dance recital, and then you get attention. So I liked being on stage, and I knew that I could entertain people, but mainly I got tired of people laughing at me for free. But I went to a comedy club, and this is back in the 80s, and it was the big boom, right? And they had at the end of the show, they said they had open mic night, and I had no idea what that was. They said, if you think you're funny, you can come out and you can try it. And I was like, oh, that's how you become a comedian? I had no idea. I just wanted to be a funny actress. And so I went down and watched and thought, well, I can be at least that bad.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, once everybody thinks they can do it, then everybody goes out and tries.
So I wrote some stuff, about my family, my dad's joke. I wrote about my dad, who was a cop growing up. And the first joke I wrote, which I'm very proud of, even though it's very corny and silly, but it's literally a setup with a punchline, which at that point, you don't know what that is.
Right,
you know what I mean?
You don't have the formula, you just have the joke. Right.
So it was, my dad arrested my first date. Charged him with possession of condoms with intent to use. So.
Hey, well, we got it here. Hold on. Hey-oh. Very nice.
Right, but if you're learning how to write a joke, that, like I said, that's literally set up and punchline. So,
cool.
Yeah, so then I did really well, better than the other guys, because I had stage presence. I had been in plays in school.
Right, so you had that bug to want to be on stage anyway.
Right, and I knew how to be on stage. I knew how to hold an audience. So that's
one of the hardest things.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I played as we're recording this, I played a car show this morning. I told you on Thursday. It was 7:30 a.m. start to 10 a.m.
That was this morning.
I've been up with no coffee and no nap yet. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. And we're playing, and it's a car show. People aren't there for the music, but people were enjoying it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there was like this roped off area, and I thought, oh, that's where people must bring their chairs to sit and listen to the band, because it was right across the street from right where we were. No, here comes this, over $100,000 McLaren supercar come in and back into that spot. And here swarms everybody to look at the car.
Right.
After one of the songs, I turned to my bass player, Mark. I said, the audience is facing the wrong way. But, you have to be able to hold an audience.
But you know what? That's happened in comedy, too.
Oh,
so
I can imagine.
Somebody drops and, somebody's choking or has a heart attack, and now you're up there going,
make them laugh.
Yeah, that's always really, really hard. Some guy was choking on a piece of ice. I'm like, I think we can just wait. It'll melt. So he was okay.
That's good. Yeah. So your first open mic experience went well, and you had a better...
Yeah, they make you a regular. That means you can go anytime. And then after the show, because they would hold the checks back then, and they would make us suffer while they're passing out the checks.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to imagine you're going after the headliner.
Right.
After a whole show. And so if you could hold an audience then, it was really good training. And that was the only clubs, but there were other bar things. Like back then there was bars would have Star Search, or the Gong Show. Or so you get up and you're up against, singers or bands or jugglers, whatever. But it was a chance to get on
specialty
stage.
Acts.
Yes. And everybody was judged against each other. And we used to do the craziest thing, a group of my friends who we were all open micers. We would go to a movie theater. We were going to go see a movie anyway, but pay admission, you get in. And then we would go really early. This was before they had the pre-movie stuff on screen. There was just nothing.
Just nothing.
So we would go and get up and say, hey, we're comics, do you mind? And everyone's like, yeah, we're just sitting here. And the manager was okay with it. He's just, make sure that you perform according to what the rating of the movie is.
Oh, that's smart.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would do that. I never did street performing, but that was my street performing.
Right.
know.
Well, captive
audience.
audience. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Well, and I would think for the people that would stick around, like you said, for the comedy clubs that would have the regular night of comics, you have your headliner, and then the open micers or whoever, if you were regular at that point, like you're saying, go up after that. The people who would stick around knowing that's going to happen, they want to hear those people.
Or make fun of.
Well, true.
Or, but
I'm
like
trying
I
to be
said,
positive here.
No, it was not. It was not. Or they were just drunk or waiting for their taxi, or they were, like I said, paying their bill, so they're not even paying attention. But so it was challenging, but it was a good exercise,
That's good. So what got you into, when did you notice things started to turn in the positive direction? Like you were doing the open mics, you became a regular. What was your first, okay, I see myself doing this moment?
Well, I guess they started to give me $20 to show up at the gong shows or the star searches in the bars, so that they would be assured to have at least one good act.
Well, yeah.
So I was like, paid to be there, but I was supposed to act like I was one of the contestants.
Right. Sort of like how these American Idol and America's Got Talent shows work anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of reality, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was my first like, oh, okay. And then just start getting MC gigs, like the comedy club would call and say, would you like to MC? It's just like anything else. You just move up the chain. You just keep moving. So then I decided to move to New York. This was in Florida where I was. And I moved to New York.
What was the comedy scene in Florida like then at that point?
It like I said, it was that one in Fort Lauderdale. It was called the Comic Strip. And it was a 2-week club because of all the tourists. So comics would come down and work for 2 weeks.
Oh, that's cool.
And then there was, little B and C rooms that started popping up. But then I moved to Long Island and New York. And my group of open micers, we call my graduating class, who we hung out with every night, was, Ray Romano and Kevin James and those,
That's awesome.
Adam Ferrara, all those guys are my best friends in comedy who I started with. And it's funny, if you notice, we're all very similar. We're all storytellers because, that's what we were doing. that's why we hung out together. We thought we were funny. And, they've done very well for themselves.
Right. And so have you.
Well, I'm here in Budapest.
Yes. In the bunker. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's funny. They've done really well for themselves. I actually took time off to start a family. So it's easier for the guys because they have families, but because they have a wife at home.
Right.
I needed a wife at home.
You were the wife at home.
Yeah. I mean, there are women who have done that, but I don't know that I wanted to be the kind of mom that was home.
Right. Yeah.
So nothing against them. That was their choice and works for them. But yeah, I wanted to be home. So yeah.
So, and when you started there, and obviously there are female comedians, a lot of female comedians, female actresses, and even looking back in the day at people like Lucille Ball, and they've been around forever. But did you find it really hard to break into some of these rooms, or just be almost taken seriously at that time and where you were?
Yeah, I mean, there were plenty of, like you said, female comedian actresses, but there were not many females at all. And when I started, no, there was just tiny little handful, So it was really hard because you could only ever get a job. You're the novelty, right?
Right.
Like we got
a woman.
We got 5 white guys and a woman, or like if there's already a woman, oh no, we already got a woman. Yeah, but you already got 4 white guys. So like why? But sometimes I would get work because I was a woman. So it almost evened out.
Almost.
You know what I mean? If it's
Yeah.
between me and another white guy,
Yeah.
and they already have 4 white guys, they're gonna put me on.
Yeah.
But yeah. But sometimes there are a lot of clubs who wouldn't hire me because I was a woman because chicks aren't funny. You know.
Right.
Thanks, Jerry Lewis. Yeah. So I'd have to feature and blow the headliner off the stage. Boy, that could have gone the wrong way. Blow the headliner off the stage.
Off
yeah.
the stage.
In order to prove that I could headline. Like I would never just get hired as the headliner.
Right.
Ever.
It's
Even
always
after I won
I
the
have to
comedy
prove
award.
myself.
Yeah. Even I would win the comedy award and oh no, I would have to have been in there and it would be so bad they would have to switch the order in the middle of the week because the headliner couldn't follow me. You know, and
Yeah.
so but then, you know, as a woman headliner, you get guys who are like, there's no way I'm going to blow her off the stage.
Yeah, you
know?
get those features now who then try to
Yeah,
one-up.
then they're really dirty and they're filthy and
Yeah.
they think that that's the way to do it. And I just go up and wipe the mic off. So
and do your thing.
we're going
Yeah.
to start over. So, yeah, but, you know, just like anytime you're any minority, you have to deal with that stuff. But don't let it get to you. And, you know, I would lock my door in the comedy condo. So every once in a while you would have, you know, offers. But, you know, most of the time, I would say 95% of the guys are like my brothers,
Right.
you know. But every once in a while there would be one on the road who hit on every waitress. And you get back to the comedy condo where you're staying and
Right.
they're like, hey, wait, you're a woman. I'm like, no, I don't travel with those things. So I leave them at home.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I actually had a comedy club owner call me and apologize because I did have one of those situations on the road where the headliner was, I was scared. I was really scared
Really?
because he cornered me and threatened me. And I went to him and he didn't do anything. So
You went to the owner.
I went to the owner of the club and he didn't want to upset the headliner, you know.
Yeah.
So then all the whole Me Too stuff came out. And I got a call from him. And he said, I want to apologize that I was not there for you. And I'm like, thank you.
Right.
You're absolved.
I forgive you.
Yes. Yes. It was, and it was amazing to me that he held that all those years too. You
Yeah.
know? But,
Right. Yeah,
well,
sure.
this took a dark turn. sorry.
The guilty conscience. That's okay. I find, you know what I find doing these podcasts, especially talking whether it's musicians or just regular people or comedians, it's like it always turns into a motivational podcast. So far we're at little girls out there, get up on that stage, tell those
Stick
jokes.
to it. Yeah. Protect yourself. Bring
Exactly.
a
Yeah. Exactly.
walk. Know how to put a chair under your door.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very true, very true. So you did you won the award in 98. What was that experience like for you? Like where were you at in your career that you felt, yes, that is the perfect thing right now?
Well, it's pretty crazy. There's things in every profession, I think, that you put as your little goal. You know,
Right.
that's the big, when I do that, I'll make it. That's the big goal. And I had 2 of those. I had to be on The Tonight Show and then to win a award. Like in my head, it was, you know, an Emmy or an Oscar or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they came up with these comedy awards. And, you know, to be on one of those shows where you go up and you accept your award and you're on the red
Thanks,
carpet.
Mom.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, here's the crazy thing. I did those 2 things, the award show and the Tonight Show, in the same weekend.
Really?
It's like, whoa, can we space this out a little bit?
Yeah, right. Well, and I want to show I found these pictures on the good old fashioned internet here.
Oh,
And
look at you.
I love this. And
Yay.
so that's you there. I mean,
That's the second time.
that's the second time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I love your face in this one. It's like perfect stand-up comedy. And now you got the new pictures done. And is that Jay Leno's book in the background?
That
I
is.
saw that. I was like,
They're
of
all
course.
my comedy books. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's subtle, but when you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all my friends' books and stuff.
That's great.
I thought that was fun. I'm doing just starting out. These are the promo pictures for it. You're the only one who has them.
Oh, thank you. See, exclusive right there, huh? Breaking news, exclusive photos. Thank you very much.
Well, I am going to launch my thing on the internet, which is called Funny Thing About Clutter.
Okay.
Because, like if you get a speeding ticket and you have to go to
Get the summons.
you
Yeah.
have to go to school. Well, they have comedy courses where comedians teach it to you, so it's not so boring. Well, my take on that is there's just hundreds and hundreds of videos of how to declutter your house,
Oh yeah.
but they're boring and not fun.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a funny one. because
Okay.
I am a hoarder. But there's a spectrum.
Have you looked around my garage?
I was going to mention it. I was
Yeah.
going to mention.
Oh, yeah.
No. So, but there's a spectrum,
Yes.
and my level of hoardism, the word, is what I reference as Monica's closet. So, the episode on Friends where
Oh, okay.
Chandler opens the closet and so that's how I am. So I was going to declutter my house. I should have done it during the pandemic. That would have been the smart
Right.
time, but I was too busy going, are we going to lose the house? Why would I clean it? Somebody else is going to have it.
now I'm gonna make it more dirty.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I just thought, what a fun way to be online and to be a presence that I don't see anybody doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd just be fun, silly, fun stuff. So I'm making the videos now and editing. I haven't
That's cool.
launched it yet, but
Nice.
yeah. So,
That'll be fun.
it's funny that picture of the Tonight Show. I have to tell you how I got myself on the Tonight Show.
Yes, the first time.
The very first time. So there's a thing called the board, the comedy board.
Okay.
So Jimmy Brogan was the talent, the booker for the comedy acts and stuff. So he goes around to the clubs and you show him your 6-minute set, 5-minute set. And he either proves it or gives you notes, and then he'll come back and watch you. And so I was on the board. So that's all the comedians who are approved to be on the Tonight Show. They put them on this big board. And then
Okay.
according to the guests or where they need
kinda,
to fill in.
Like match people up.
Yeah. So I had been on that board for over a year.
Wow.
Like, I was like, oh my God, come on.
Female comedian.
Yes, didn't fit in with anything. So my future husband, my boyfriend at the time, we went to Hollywood Studios in Florida.
Okay.
And they had this, it was the new thing, the green screen.
Oh, cool.
Brand new. And so the way that they did it was you sit on a couch and they project you onto the Tonight Show.
Oh.
So you're literally sitting next to Jay Leno,
Yeah.
and then there's little TVs and you look at the TV and you're sitting next to Leno.
That's cool.
So my husband took a picture of the TV with me on the Tonight Show, and I'm a big proponent of creative visualization. Like
Yes,
you
we
have
were talking about that.
You picture what you want to happen and you manifest it in your life.
Tahiti, folks.
Right.
Tahiti.
Right. Like this morning, I was like Budapest.
Yeah.
But you have to be more specific.
Yes.
But so I took that and I put it on my refrigerator. So every day, all day, I would see myself on the Tonight Show, just sitting on the couch. And I got the call in 4 days.
Wow.
4 days
4
after
days.
being there, yes, for a whole year.
That's awesome.
So it was very fun.
So who ended up being the other guests that they matched you with?
The first night it was Halle Berry and Jerry O'Connell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
My favorite was the second one because the band OK Go was on, and I didn't know about OK Go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so then they became such a cool band with all their videos. Are you
Right.
familiar
Yeah.
with
Yeah. They do all the what's the
Rube Goldberg? Yeah, stuff. And so I would show them to my kids, and it's really an interesting dynamic when you have kids and you're in show business. They don't know any different, and they
Right.
have
Your mom.
You're just mom,
Yeah.
right? And so they loved OK Go. So I found a photo that they took of us on the Tonight Show. And it's me and Jay and OK Go, standing there.
Right.
And, what's his name? Owen Wilson was on it too.
Oh, cool.
Which was awesome because my nose was so dainty that night. It was awesome. So I showed it to my kids and I go, look. And they're like, wait, you know OK Go? I'm like, well, I met them when I did this show. And it's just really funny how they have no idea,
Yeah.
We went to go see let's see, who were we going to see? Oh, Brian Regan. My friend Brian. You know who Brian is.
I feel
He's
like
a
I know
comic.
that
He's like the most most famous, unfamous comic.
Really?
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like he sells out theaters,
Yeah.
and then no one knows who he is.
Right. It's probably one of those, you know him if you see him, but
He's
just
so
the
funny.
name. Yeah.
Right. So you have to look him up. He's so funny. So Brian Regan was their favorite comedian because he talks about going to school when he was younger and different fun stuff.
Right.
And so he was coming to town. So I said, well, let's go see Brian Regan. And so you have to remember Brian and I and a couple of other comedians, we have kind of the same fan base because we're, again, storytellers from back then.
Yeah.
And so I'm standing there, we're going in, and I started to get recognized. So people were like, oh my God, Maryellen. And they were taking pictures, and my kids are just standing there, and I look, and their mouths are hanging open. And they come up and they go, do you know those people? And I said, no, they're fans of my comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just saw the wheels and the gears.
The little light
click,
bulb.
And my son goes, wait a minute. Are you famous? It exploded. And I'm like, well, no, there's levels of fame. Like, it's such a weird word. But in this genre, a comedy fans or whatever, there are people who know me and whatever. And he's like, shut up. You're famous.
We've been paying for things all this time.
I had no idea. It was really cute. It was very funny.
How old were they at that time?
Oh my gosh. It was like 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
that's fun. That's awesome.
It was really cute.
So talk about, you told the story on the radio on Thursday there about how you technically met Jay Leno once before you went on the Tonight Show.
Oh, right. And this I love this story because it tells what kind of guy he is. He's such a down-to-earth, sweet guy. So when I was in Florida doing the open mic nights and all that stuff, everyone would say, all the comics, if you really want to see a comic work, you need to see Jay Leno. This was before the Tonight Show. So he was just selling theaters and stuff. So he was coming to town and the tickets were like $15. I'm like, I can't afford that.
$15.
Yes, I couldn't afford that. So
Now it's add a few zeros.
I know. So a local radio station was having a comedy competition. And so the winner got tickets to see Jay Leno. I guess they were sponsoring it. So I'm like, okay. So I go down and I won the contest. So yay for me. So I get to go and I'm on like front row and I'm watching. And then afterwards, the DJs come out and they said, oh, this is the winner of our comedy competition. He said, oh my gosh, come on up on stage. And he bring, after the show, he brings me up and we go back to the green room and he excuses us and he says, listen, we're comics and we're going to talk comedy. So you guys need to leave. I'm like, this is so cool.
Right.
And he was asking me, what are you doing? You need to get out of Florida. You need to go, you need to do this. Okay. So then flash forward, whatever it was, 10 years, 15 years, whatever, that I'm doing the Tonight Show for the first time. So he comes in the green room and he stands in the doorway and he goes, so you've come a long way since that comedy competition.
I love
I'm
that.
like, no way that he remembered that.
Right.
And nobody knew that story. Like I didn't tell
because
anyone.
that was something that was just between the two of you.
Yeah. So that's the kind of guy he is. He's either a savant with a really good memory or he's a really nice guy.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love him.
And so
Sweet.
getting ready for that experience, I mean, what was that like for you? What do they tell you that you have to do? I mean, obviously you have a time constraint. You're a live audience. What was that like for the first time?
Well, it's kind of surreal because again, it's one of those things that you made bigger than life, like to be on the Tonight Show, and it's not like when you're in a club because the studio audience is different. It's all like
and they're
they go
further
up,
back too.
and they're further back, and there's all the cameras, and then there's a person they want to put your act on cue cards, and I'm like, that's going to mess me up, and they're like, no, we need to do it because I guess people have just frozen and forgotten.
Just blanked, yeah.
So they put it, and you try not to look at it because it messes you up.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody who's doing the time.
Yeah,
So
it's like-
you're, and then I'm like, do I look in the camera? Or
Right.
do I look at the audience? Like there's a lot of stuff. So it's different. And then you look to your right, and there's Jay Leno, and you're like, whoa!
Yeah.
This is so surreal. So, and and they're counting down when you got to wrap it up and
Right.
whatever. So, but I did well. I did mess up. I transposed 2 things which didn't matter. And I was so surprised that I did that because it comes out of my mouth 100,000
100 million
times.
times. Yep.
But because it's such a weird situation, so,
Yeah.
but it did really well. And then Jay calls you over and you have, you give him questions that lead you into jokes.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Which is really
The setup.
Yeah. It's coincidentally so funny.
And then I just so happen to have this right here. Yeah.
So I heard through the grapevine.
Right.
Yeah. And
Is it hard to come up with those when you had to give them
well,
those
you
ahead of time?
you have your jokes and you're
Yeah.
like, what would lead you into it? And it's easier for me because I'm a storyteller, so it's really
Right.
easy, like you just did,
Yeah.
So I hear,
Yeah.
like you
Tell
told
us
me.
about that time.
Yeah. And then, but the funniest thing was, my husband was so much more like I don't really get nervous. I get anticipatory, like I'm going to be on, and I knew, well, this one matters,
Right,
but
yeah.
I don't get nervous. And my husband was
I mean, a Thursday night at Fasani doesn't have the same impact.
Well, it's really interesting because my husband was backstage of the curtain with me, standing next to me, and Jay is literally introducing me. And I'm turning to my husband and I go, we should really go somewhere after because look, they did my makeup. It's professional. And he goes, will you focus? They're introducing you.
On
And
the
I'm just-
Tonight Show.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, but look how pretty I look. Like, we should go somewhere.
Yeah, right.
It's really funny.
Serendipity. Oh, this was in L.A. L.A. or New York?
LA. Yeah.
Okay, L.A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fallon brought it back to New
to New
York.
York.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's several comedians. I think we talked about this on the radio too.
Yeah.
That have done. I want to ask and do a survey of that have done it on all 3 with Johnny, Jay, and Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I want to call it the Triple J.
That'd be cool. Yeah. I'm sure it's a very small club.
I think it is. I think Kathy Ladman may be it, but I digress.
Still, that's
I
very
have it.
cool. And so the second time you went back there, you just feel like more relaxed, like, okay, this is now
Yeah, I've
something.
done it. Yeah.
You've done it before, and now it's, I know this couch.
I sat here, and because Jay knows me now, because there's a club in LA in Hermosa Beach called Comedy Magic Club, and Jay performs there every Sunday. He's amazing. Like, he's a workaholic, and he would get up every Sunday night there. So we get to know him, hanging out in the green room, and so then it's more like hanging out with a friend,
Right.
So it's not so. Ooh, I hope you think I'm funny.
Yeah.
All the other late night shows I've done, like I did. Do you remember Martin Short had a show?
I have heard of that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, they decided, I think because they didn't have any material. I don't know if there was a writer's strike or whatever it was. They didn't want to come up with more. They're having trouble with opening monologues. So for a whole week, they did this bit where they had comics come and do his opening monologue for him.
For him. Okay.
And they did it different ways. Like for mine, I was sitting in the audience and he acts like he loses his contact and he can't see. And he's going around and he's feeling me in the audience. He's like, oh my God, Maryellen Hooper, will you do my monologue for me?
Right.
like,
Yeah.
corny
In
thing.
the Martin Short way.
Right. But I'd never met him. So, or the Dennis Miller show, like I'd never met him before. So those, you just hope that they like you and think that you're
Right.
funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the big nervous thing.
Well, and I feel like the questions move on. Like, this is obviously I've met you before last year, going on the radio for Vasani, and then saw you again this time. But this is the first time on my podcast.
Yes.
And so you get those kind of first time, like, so how'd you get started? It's the
Right.
same thing as a musician I'm used to hearing. But as you develop that friendship, then it's like, oh, so what have you been up to since the last time I saw you? Sort of
Yes.
questions too.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah.
Are you asking me that?
Well, I guess that leads into, so you did the shows and you won your award, and fast forward here, you started doing more of the theaters and all of that. When did you notice the shift from the clubs to the theaters, and that people were really, really digging the storytelling stuff and that sort of thing?
Let's see. Well, when I first started out, like I said, there was hardly any female comics, and I honestly wasn't storytelling back then. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just throwing stuff out. I had props, and I did characters, or I had a bit where I acted like I was getting in a car. I had sound effects on a tape, and I would turn on the radio, and whenever music would come on, changing the channel, I would become that character, which is so not politically correct. Right? So, country, whatever. Like I said, because I was an actress and used to taking on characters.
It's the theater role.
It was
You were a
hard
theater kid.
to be myself, right?
Yeah.
So the big switch that I have, I call it my punchline moment, which is, there's a movie with Sally Field and Tom Hanks called Punchline. Have you ever seen that?
Okay. Haven't seen it. I've heard of it.
Yeah. Well, for Sally Field, she's telling jokes. It's the same thing. And then one night she goes up and starts talking about herself, and immediately she's hysterical. So I had been up all night long, and I was doing a show with all women, because that's the way it would be. It would either be all women and labeled girls, or
Right.
and I was the host. But I'd been up all night because my boyfriend had broken up with me, and I was up crying all night.
Right.
So I go up on stage and I start my stupid act, back then with the character. And this girl up front goes, "It looks like you've been crying."
Ooh.
And I said, "I have been crying because my boyfriend," and I just went off, and I killed.
And it was just
and
that
I got
click.
a standing ovation in my 15-minute opening act,
Nice.
as an MC. And so I get off stage and I'm like, what just happened? And the headliner comes up and says, "That was amazing. Don't ever do that in front of me again." She had to follow me.
Right.
But that was the literal night that I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to talk about myself, be myself.
Yeah.
But then, when I started,
And what do they always say? It comes from a place of pain. So I'm a blues musician. They tell you have to write songs come
Right.
from a place of pain.
Exactly. Comedy's tragedy.
Yeah.
But so I just started talking about my stupid boyfriend. But when I started, I was so young. What was I, 20 or whatever? You didn't have much to talk about,
Right.
But then, so now my comedy is ever evolving. It's my own reality show, whatever.
Yeah.
When I was talking about dating my husband, when's he gonna ask me? Well, I'm gonna throw him a surprise wedding, and then as we get engaged, then we're talking about that, and then trying to get pregnant, talk about that, so.
And it ever just continues
Yeah,
to
it just
evolve.
continues to go.
Yeah.
That's what I do. But now it's hard because my kids are teenagers and they understand that I'm talking about them. And they're like, hey.
Yeah, right. It's like, you're not invited to the show.
That's how I parent. I'm like, if you don't clean up this room, I'm talking about it on stage.
Yeah, right. And so, and I noticed certain comedians do crowd work a certain way. And based upon the questions that they ask, they can lead into the
Bits.
right bit.
Yeah.
Like you said, like how you asked Jay to ask the right kind of questions.
Right.
And you find now you're able to use those maybe older stories about he hasn't asked me to marry him yet.
Yeah.
You put those on other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look how clever you are.
Hey, I'm figuring it out. My buddy said I want to host one of these days at Imbasciani because I have my little quips. But I said I want to walk up with a guitar because everybody knows me for just playing guitar all the time.
Sure.
And people will think I'm going to sing a song and just the whole time just tune the guitar and then stop, tell a little joke, and then continue to tune
Yeah.
the guitar and then never actually play a song.
That's like Henny Youngman.
Yeah, right.
With his
There you go.
violin.
Yeah,
Never
perfect.
played it. Just had it.
Yeah. Prop comedy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I used to have a hat box, an old 1940s hat box with all my wigs and things in it.
Nice.
And it's funny, there's this whole rivalry in comedy about prop comics and monologists. And it was, especially in the 90s, it was just this horrible thing. Like, there is room for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I would defend Carrot Top nonstop. Like, his audience isn't going to come see you. Like, why do you care? Why are you saying he's not a real comic?
Right.
He literally is a definition. If you make an audience laugh, you are a comedian.
Yeah.
And it was just such this elitist thing that I hated so much. So when I did have props, I the monologist headliner said, "Oh, I'll bring your hot box to the stage for you." I'm like, "Oh, how sweet is that?"
Uh-oh.
And then I get there, I start my first bit, I open them, he had emptied everything out. Like, let's see how funny she is without it. And guess what? I was. So
The best revenge.
yeah. And let's see. I could tell you, speaking of prop comics, Gallagher.
Yeah, that came to mind. Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of the, he recently passed. You have to be a little respectful, or now we can talk about him. I was performing with two other women, and down the road from us, Gallagher was appearing, and at a big theater, So we got word backstage that his show was canceled because he didn't sell any tickets.
Ooh.
So he showed up at our show. So I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. So he was back there and he was watching the show. So then he comes backstage, and I was headlining. So he walks up to me and he goes, "Do you think about what you're going to wear on stage at all? Like, why would you wear that?" And I start laughing because I dress really nice. Like, I put a lot of thought in. I wear dresses, and so I laughed. And then he goes, "No, I'm serious." He's like, "Why would you wear that on stage?" And then my friend Helen Keeney, who's a funny comedian, she was defending me, and she's like, "Excuse me, I think you have watermelon seeds on your shoes." I was like, "Oh my God,
Nice.
that's so funny." So like, how rude! Like,
Yeah, right.
You're just so
Your show just
bitter.
got canceled.
Right? So you're gonna come knock
Yeah.
us down? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my little trash.
Yeah, I was gonna say, talking about Carrot Top and Gallagher, what was the weirdest experience you've had with a comedian?
with a comic.
Yeah,
That was.
that was one of them.
Yeah, for the most part, people are so sweet. And then I told you about the other one, the Me Too moment. But
Yes.
For the most part, it's mostly audience that can get weird.
yeah.
I don't know what your podcast is rated, but
Oh, let it fly.
well, I've had both male and female gender flash me in Las Vegas, which I guess you expect that to
right.
happen. Let's see, I was on stage and I was talking about being not very well endowed, and there was, I didn't know this, a whole bunch of strippers were in the audience watching the show. So one of them stands up and says, "Honey, all you need is $3,000. And then she pulls her shirt down, and the crowd's like, "What?" And those are the moments where the next thing you say make or break whether you're going to be able to. And I don't know where it came from, but I just kept in character, and I just said, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I don't have time to window shop right now." But thank you for your info, so I won them back, and it kept going. And then the rest of the night, whatever I would say, I would revert back to her, not doing stuff.
Right.
And then the guy thing, that was scary. Oh my God, it was a casino, but it was in Montana.
Okay.
And we had to perform in the middle of the casino. Like, bing, bing, bing,
Oh
bing,
yeah,
bing,
yeah,
bing, bing, bing.
yeah. I've played in casinos like that too.
Yeah.
At least music blends in, but
Right.
comedy,
But words, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're on the stage off to the side, and you still hear bing, bing, bing. And so there's security guards standing on the side of the stage, which is a little suspect to me,
Red
like,
flag number one.
yeah, like, where's the security? So during my show,
They didn't have the chicken wire up at the time.
I've done those too. I have done those. Humble beginnings, my friend.
Oh yes.
So I'm on stage, and I would say not even 10 minutes in, this guy gets up and walks to the stage, unzips, takes it out, and starts
Yeah.
trying to make the magic happen. But
What does Zoltan say? Oh, how do you do's?
yeah, shaking his own hand. So But the things he's saying to me are, you get over here. I'm going to teach you. I'm so sick of women thinking
yeah.
da da da. So this was a rapist, right?
Yeah,
This
right.
is-
Yeah.
So I look over at the
It should be on a list somewhere.
yeah. So I look at the security guard who's laughing, and I just said, exactly what do you have to do to get thrown out of here if this isn't it? Like,
Right.
really?
Yeah.
So, and they're like, oh, that's just Billy Bob or
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
And
He's here every Tuesday.
I had the mic, with the metal stand. I was about to
Yeah.
whack him, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty scary. That was a scary one. But I performed there's this place in New Jersey called Betty's Fireside, and their old comics no, it was a strip club.
Okay.
And so there's the stage is like behind the bartender. So you have to imagine this.
Yes, I've played places like that too, where it's
Yeah.
the bar first
It's in front,
with
and-
people sitting there, and then you're up higher behind them.
Behind them.
Yeah.
So that was the strip club. That was one of the little stages, right, where the
Mm-hmm.
girls would be. And they kept it like that. So you had to perform it there. And it was the same clientele.
Right.
So their whole goal, it turned into, was trying to fluster the comic and get them to run off. But they don't tell you that.
Right.
So I show up, and they are trying so hard to fluster me by saying, take it off and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
When they started throwing money, well, I made more money in tips than they did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I was just degrading them, and they loved it. And
Nice.
But oh my gosh,
Some people are into that.
played a biker bar where I walk on stage, and there's all these Harley chicks and dudes, and I had saddle Oxfords and a 50s dress. I was the girl they all beat up. So they started going, get her! And the owner had to come running over, picked me up, threw me over his shoulder, and ran out, put me in the car, and said, go, go, go.
So you feel like the Beatles at that point, and you drive off. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So I would ask you, how do you feel the difference in comedy from then to now? But it's probably, in that case, better now. But I mean, I feel like with the invent of all these social media influencer type of comedians that are now coming out, we kind of talked about this a little bit
Yeah.
before on Thursday. It's like they think they're funny because they make 30-second videos, and then they try to transfer into the
a 45
stage.
minute to an hour show.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the comedians, let alone the audience that are the keyboard warriors that
Right.
don't understand comedy is comedy, and
Right.
then aren't hiding behind that keyboard anymore. So
Yeah.
for each thing, how have you seen things change?
Well, again, it's the clubs are, if you can sell tickets, and if you've got 1 million followers, and they're gonna hire you, and they don't really care because
Right.
they've sold the tickets. But it's not really good, because then the people show up and they're like, well, this wasn't that funny.
Right.
I saw one thing do it really well, but they weren't acting like comedians. My sons follow these Odd Ones Out. Have you heard of Odd Ones Out?
Yeah, isn't he the
cartoonist.
Cartoonist. Yeah. I
Yes.
remember him. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, so that guy,
And he tells his stories.
he tells a story and animates it with this little
Right.
white blobby guy.
Yeah,
and so
I
it was
like him.
appropriate for my kids, and we thought it was funny too. He had really good timing.
James is his name, I think.
Yes,
Yeah,
look at you.
I remember.
And then his friend, who's a girl, who did it too. And there's a couple of them that they all, would do stuff together. So they decided to have a live show.
Oh, cool.
And so, but they made these awesome games. So we bought tickets, and the games are really fun. They had to get a suggestion from the audience, and they each one had time to draw what they
okay.
thought. And it was so funny and entertaining. They did a great job. They did it.
Almost sort of like a
correctly.
panel, kind of.
It was a panel, and,
Yeah.
and the audience
That's
was
fun.
involved, and oh yeah, my boys loved that. It was really fun. I was impressed with them.
Cool. But are you seeing now on the audience side of things, are you seeing audiences, I mean, since the Chris Rock incident,
Yeah.
get more vocal, or do they think they're having a conversation even more so than just heckling?
Well, I'm finding that I think this happens with everything in society. Whenever you try to change something for the best, to give somebody rights maybe that doesn't have it, or whatever it is, the political correctness, for example, the pendulum swings so far right, pun intended, that no, left, but swings, but
This left.
yeah, you know what I mean, to try to correct it, that people
Right.
go overboard and they get so hypersensitive that
And then
they're
it's just going to swing far back the other way.
well, then you hope that it kind of settles in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and then people now have rights that didn't, or people are more sensitive about things that they weren't, or be more aware of things. So I feel like we're kind of in those times again, you know, with things with the political correctness swinging so far. And then when that happened, feeling like that you can physically assault somebody, it was just so horrible for us, because it's nerve-wracking enough, you know, to be in front and people being offended and yelling and heckling, or when he went up and smacked Chris Rock, it was so shocking.
And then nothing happened at that time.
Nothing happened, and everybody.
And then he won an award and gave his speech.
Right. Like, if that had been anyone, like an audience member running up and smacking him, he would have been wrestled to the ground.
Don't tase me,
arrested.
bro. Yeah.
Tase me, bro.
Well,
So-
like what you saw with Dave Chappelle, it was like a month later, 2 months
Right.
later, and the guy came up, tackled Chappelle, and then I think it was Jamie Foxx, which I hope he's feeling better, ended up tackling that guy.
right, because
Yeah.
nobody did anything. So, and it's funny because I have two sides of that. Which one of the sides was I was surprised that Chris Rock did that joke. Not that he ever
Right,
should be
yeah.
assaulted for it, but only because, and this is a completely different issue, he has done a documentary called Good Hair.
Really?
And it was kind of a love letter to his daughters, who, if you don't have the good hair, if you have African American hair, there's a stigma,
Right,
and there's
yeah,
all
yeah,
this
yeah.
stuff, and how personal African American women take that.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to make that joke, I thought, well, that's kind of really going against
Interesting,
what your
yeah.
documentary was, you know. So and Chris Rock is a wonderful guy, and I've met him, and he's a sweetheart. So I was wondering, did they write that for him? Like, they must have, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that he did it. But again,
Yeah.
two separate
Grand scheme.
two
of all of
separate
it, yeah.
things, right?
Uh-huh.
That's a choice that you make, and I felt like it was going against his personal beliefs.
It's the choice you make, and then it's the what do you do in response to that, and that's where
Right.
Will Smith chose poorly.
Right. Had he gone, he could have even walked on stage and go, "Yo, apologize to my wife." That would have been
Right.
And he would have go, it would have been a whole different situation.
Yeah.
You know, that's what should have happened. But yeah, that's my little take on that. But I feel like, and then right after that, interesting enough, I performed at a 55 and older community
Oh,
down
those
here
are
in
the
Florida.
best. Love those.
Yeah, they have those.
Yeah.
And this woman sought me out afterwards. I had an okay show. I was talking to a couple who started heckling me and wanted to be part of the show. So I made them part of the show, talking with them. Well, she sought me out on Facebook, and she berated me, wrote me. It was my very first hate letter. Like, I've never gotten one. And
Nice.
called me a hate
So
comic.
you framed it, right?
Right, like you've seen my show, like
Yeah.
a hate comic, like, and it's interesting because it happened.
You hate air compressors. That much I know. I'll show.
hate
I got
tools.
mine right over there.
I'm gonna go kick it when I
Yeah.
get by.
You should sign it.
Yeah, I know. Oh, that would be hilarious.
That'd be hilarious.
I'd like to say it would be the first, but no. So I was so shocked that she was so offended, and she was saying that I was making fun of those people. It wasn't even her, and those people were fine with our interaction.
Yeah.
That she took it upon herself. So again, that person was just highly offended at everything. and
There's
it's-
always one.
I know, I've never gotten one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love it when I'll be playing in the middle of a song, and I'm singing the song, I'm playing the song, and somebody will just come up and just start to have a full-on conversation with me while I'm singing the song. Yeah, and I'm like,
Singing.
yeah, a little busy.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say I'm a little busy, but I can't because I'm singing.
That's hilarious.
So
I
it's-
know.
yeah,
I
there's
told
always
you,
one.
My brother's a drummer.
Yeah.
And so he's protected.
Right,
'Cause he's
he's in the-
behind the
yeah,
drums
right.
and nobody's doing anything. Yeah. It was funny. He was, my brother was on the road performing. I don't know if it was in Arizona, where it was. And I happened to be driving cross country doing gigs. And I called my grandmother and she's like, oh my gosh, you're in Tempe. Your brother's in Tempe tonight. I'm like, no way. So I found out where he was performing and I snuck in while he was playing. And I stood in the middle of the dance floor. And I'm like, that drummer sucks. He sucks. And you see all the
Yeah.
other people going, oh.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. And he
That's
looked
great.
up and was like, what are you doing? That was
Love
awesome.
it. Yeah. So, one final story I want to get out of you here. You talk about you were hanging out with Ray Romano and these guys, and you had your niche. They were the storytellers, like you said. So, what was a great memory you remember of being with those guys, hanging out, the friend group, walking around New York, being part of it? What's a story you can share?
Well, it's funny. I don't know. We didn't really get to hang out with Ray very much because he was married really young. And then his wife had twins.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure you've seen, I don't know, he has really funny bits about the twins. But so.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved that was his special, right, where he did the one comedy show and then
Yeah.
he walked down the street and did the other one, like
Yeah.
one single camera. That was cool.
Yeah. So his wife was like, get home. Like he was trying to do the comedy thing, but
Yeah.
he would get home. So not a lot of hanging out, but it's just what I remember the most is the green rooms and the nonstop laughter, like making each other laugh was mostly inappropriate thing, but the ability to crack each other up and that laughing when you're just crying.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember. Just so much fun and camaraderie, and everyone is hungry and excited and helpful, like always giving each other tags and lines and helping each other. There wasn't any, hope that somebody would not do well or,
Right.
you know.
Do you feel like things are oversaturated now and there is that type of, not venom, but just like the hoping it doesn't go that well for that person because I want my shot type of mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there were guys back then, but not very many. Though certainly didn't.
But I
hang
mean
out,
now.
But I think everybody is disconnected because of the internet. I don't know that there's as much of the hangout. Although I did just see. Do you know Devin Siebold?
Yeah.
Very funny guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's newer. I say newer. He's only been doing it 10 years. He's a new guy. But he came up with a thing about teachers because he was a teacher, and now
Right.
he's in theaters. And so he was just kind of reminiscing on the internet yesterday, the day before, about this is the thing that the light at the end of the tunnel, the big goal, the brass ring. He's like, and now that I have it, I'm kind of missing the beginning. I miss the hanging out with the guys and going
Right.
home at night to my family. And it's literally travel, show, hotel, travel, show, hotel. So you have to enjoy where you are or you're not going to
When
enjoy
you're
this
there.
success. Because I saw Kevin Smith after his, he got a sitcom after it was the second show. And we were hanging out. And I said, so is it everything? Is it everything? Everything
Yeah.
that we want? And he goes, you know what? It's the same thing, just higher stakes. You still worry about putting, instead of worrying about putting butts in the seats, you worry about your ratings, But now all these people are, you're on your payroll. So if you don't
Yeah.
do well, it's their livelihood. And then he goes,
And you have even more people telling you got to do it this way, got to do it that way.
right. And so if you're always looking to the future, you're going to miss out on the fun stuff, which is the beginning where you're just starting out and you're enjoying it. So if you don't enjoy that, you're not going to enjoy the success.
Enjoy where you are, no matter where you are.
Be present.
Be present in the moment, folks. Well, this has been awesome. Maryellen Hooper, thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet.
It's so much fun. Now
I
we
hope
get to
my
do
brother
this.
gets to play with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I need a drummer. Let's do it.
I know.
Folks, thank you for watching. Greatly appreciate it. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and go see Maryellen Hooper. If you're watching this today, as I put it up on Saturday, she's at Vasani. Go to the Late Show.
Go to the Late Show.
Go to the Late Show.
Stuff happens there.
Exactly. Folks, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.